case briefs, and so much more. LSData's got what you're looking for.
In a gripping case heard by the Utah Supreme Court in 1979, named State v. Howard, a man who fatally shot two people during an argument was convicted of both second-degree murder and manslaughter, despite contending that lethal force was used in self-defense. The defendant insisted his actions were due to unawareness of the risk presented by his actions towards accidental victims. However, his request for an instruction on the lesser included offense of negligent homicide was denied by the court, potentially altering the outcome of the case. The series of unfortunate events began in the summer of 1977, when a feud between friends Marilyn Rust and Tammy Johnson escalated, sucking in an unsuspecting group, the defendant among them. Proceedings intensified after threatening notes were found on Marilyn's car, escalating the defendant's behavior. In an act deemed suspicious by the prosecution, the defendant arrived at Marilyn's apartment with loaded weapons. As tensions brewed, various automobiles had their tires slashed, further escalating the conflict. The intense feud climaxed tragically on the night of January 14, 1978. An explosive argument ensued, during which the defendant was noted to be holding a loaded shotgun. As escalations reached their peak, the defendant shot and killed two people who were friends of both Marilyn and himself, who had arrived as the argument was ongoing. Lower courts found the defendant guilty on both counts of second-degree murder and manslaughter, despite the defendant's claim of self-defense. The court disproved his assertion by explaining the notion that causing the death of someone other than the intended victim was not considered a defense. Therefore, whether the defendant was aware or should have been aware of the risk of killing the accidental victims was not a factor in verifying the conviction. The decision was appealed to the Utah Supreme Court, which affirmed the lower court's ruling. It defined negligent homicide as a crime where the offender was either aware of but disregarded a substantial risk, or should have been aware of such a risk. Consistent with the lower court's determination, the justices concluded that it was clear the defendant showed conscious intent to harm the victims. Based on such decision, the plea for instruction on negligent homicide was rightfully denied, sealing the fate of the defendant. The unanimous decision goes to show how a defendant's mental state regarding accidental victims is irrelevant in determining cases of this nature.
Case briefs, and so much more. LSData's got what you're looking for. Visit LSD.law, elevate your mind. Leave the stress of class.